Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges and fellow debaters, I am honored to stand before you today to argue in favor of the motion that the government should impose a tax on meat consumption to reduce environmental impact. Thank you for the opportunity to debate the motion. This House would impose a tax on meat consumption to reduce environmental impact. As the counterside, I will argue that such a tax would be ineffective and potentially harmful to the agricultural sector, food security, and the economy. Certainly, my stance against the motion government should impose a tax on meat consumption to reduce environmental impact is rooted in the belief that while reducing meat consumption is important for environmental sustainability, imposing a tax might not be the most effective or equitable solution. Imposing a tax on meat consumption could indeed disproportionately affect lower income individuals who rely on meat as a primary protein source. Here's why. 1. Higher percentage of income. Lower income individuals typically spend a higher percentage of their income on food compared to wealthier individuals. Therefore, any increase in the price of meat resulting from a tax would have a more significant impact on their overall budget. Second, limited dietary option. For many lower income households, meat serves as a relatively affordable and accessible source of protein. Imposing a tax on meat could limit their dietary option and force them to seek alternative, often more expensive protein sources such as poultry, fish, or plant-based alternatives. Third, nutritional concerns. Meat is a nutrient-dense food that provides essential vitamins and minerals, including iron, zinc, and B vitamins, for individuals with limited access to diverse and nutritious foods. Reducing meat consumption due to increased costs could lead to nutritional deficiencies and negative health outcomes. Cultural and culinary significance. In many cultures and communities, meat plays a significant role in traditional cuisines and cultural practices. Imposing a tax on meat could disrupt this culinary tradition and cultural norms, particularly for marginalized communities already facing social and economic challenges. Limited access to alternative. Plant-based protein alternatives, while increasingly available in some areas, may not be as accessible or affordable for lower income individuals and families, especially in food deserts or underserved communities where fresh and healthy foods are scarce. Overall, while reducing meat consumption is important for environmental sustainability and public health, policymakers must carefully consider the potential impact of a meat tax on vulnerable population, and the measures aimed at addressing environmental concerns related to meat production should prioritize equity and ensure that lower income individuals have access to affordable and nutritious food options. In my argument against imposing a tax on meat consumption to reduce environmental impact, I'll be addressing the following main points. Effectiveness of taxation, I'll argue that while taxation may reduce meat consumption to some extent, it may not significantly address the root causes of environmental issues associated with meat production. Social equity. I'll highlight concern about the regressive nature of a meat tax and its potential to disproportionately burden lower income individuals who rely on meat as a primary source of protein. Alternative solution, I'll discuss alternative approaches to reducing the environmental impact of the meat consumption that prioritize education, incentives for sustainable farming practices, and promoting plant-based diets without resorting to taxation unintended consequences. I'll address potential unintended consequences of a meat tax such as food insecurity, economic impacts on producers, and challenges related to enforcement and compliance. By exploring these points, I aim to present a comprehensive argument against the motion and advocate for a more holistic and equitable solution to address environmental concerns related to meat consumption. Addressing the effectiveness of taxation in reducing meat consumption and its environmental impact requires careful consideration of various factors. While taxation can influence consumer behavior to some extent, its effectiveness in significantly reducing meat consumption and mitigating environmental impact may be limited. Here's why: price elasticity of demand. The extent to which consumers respond to changes in meat prices, known as price elasticity of demand, varies depending on factors such as income level, dietary preferences, and cultural norms. While some consumers may reduce their meat consumption in response to higher prices, others, particularly those with higher incomes or strong preferences for meat, may be less responsive. Substitution effects. Higher meat prices resulting from taxation may lead consumers to substitute meat with alternative protein sources, such as poultry, fish, or plant-based options. However, the extent to which these substitutes are environmentally preferable depends on factors such as production methods, land use, and resource intensity. In some cases, consumers may choose alternative protein sources that have similar or even greater environmental impact than meat. Income and access. Lower income individuals who may be disproportionately affected by meat taxation may have limited access to alternative protein sources or lack the financial means to afford them. As a result, they may continue to consume meat despite higher prices, leading to minimal reduction in overall meat consumption and environmental impact. Long term behavior change. Taxation alone may not lead to sustained behavior change or dietary shift over the long term. While consumers may initially reduce their meat consumption in response to higher price, their preference and habits may revert to previous patterns over time, particularly if they perceive tax as temporary or if alternative protein sources are not readily available or affordable. Supply side consideration. The effectiveness of meat taxation in reducing environmental impact also depends on supply side factors such as agricultural practices, land use policies, and international trade dynamics. Without complementary measures to promote sustainable farming practices, regulate land use, and address global trade imbalance, the environmental benefit of reduced meat consumption may be limited. Encouraging dietary shifts. Taxation can incentivize consumers to explore alternative protein sources, such as plant based proteins, which generally have lower environmental footprints compared to meat. As consumers seek out these alternatives to avoid the higher tax meat products, they contribute to a shift towards more sustainable dietary patterns that are less reliant on resource intensive animal agriculture. Revenue generation for environmental initiative. Revenue generated from meat taxation can be reinvested into environmental conservation efforts and initiatives aimed at promoting sustainable farming practices. This can include funding for agroforestry projects, research into more sustainable livestock farming methods, and subsidies for farmers transitioning to regenerative agricultural practices. By allocating tax revenue toward environmental solutions, government can amplify the impact of meat taxation on environmental sustainability, public awareness, and behavior change. The introduction of a meat tax could also raise public awareness about the environmental consequences of meat consumption through media coverage